I noticed not a lot on COVID, but a lot on exciting tech, celebrity status. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I think that was actually the one thing that stood out right off the bat was the absence of a lot of conversation about COVID and a big shift, I think, in terms of the overall tone of the Super Bowl this year. You'll remember last year was the ads were quite worthy. I think being of the moment that we were in at that time, but there was a real big swing back to optimism, to lots of having fun with the ads. A real positivity, I think, across the board, and you see that reflected again in the what people voted for. It was the fun ads. It was the stuff that where you saw brands taking really big swings and trying to own the moment. I think the other thing that we saw is if you look across the board, outside of the traditional advertisers, there brands like beer and automotive, which always show up in a big way. I think what you're seeing more and more is the ubiquity of technology in our lives. We saw home products advertised. We saw 5G networks advertised, both for the home, but also home internet service. And we saw the new entry of some of the cryptocurrency related brands.
Yeah, I think we want to pick up on that, Josh, because I was so kind of jarred by Coinbase's ad, just the floating QR code. And at the same time, you have crypto.com, which I know you worked on, having this huge and kind of emotional moment with LeBron James speaking to his younger self. I know crypto.com also had the big Matt Damon ad. I mean, what do you make of the extremely disparate approaches from both of those brands, and which one do you think works better?
Well, both great questions. I'm not sure I have the answer to either one of them, unfortunately. I think, the Super Bowl a lot of times can be a moment to reinforce a brand, which you see again with brands like automotive and beer. Those are brands that we're familiar with. I think what we're seeing now with the evolution of the cryptocurrency market and that as a financial services zone, you're seeing brands trying to establish awareness. We all feel like we've been talking about these things for a very long time, but I think when you look at the Super Bowl audience, the reality is that these are new concepts and new ideas and new brands. So each of those, the two brands that you mentioned, they're trying to leverage the moment in different ways in order to create some buzz factor. The more direct thing that Coinbase approached, I'm sure, generated a lot of confusion, but then probably some click-throughs into the .com platform. And then, the idea of using LeBron to try to establish yourself as kind of a burgeoning household name within the market is an equally valid approach.
Well, Maddie mentioned a lot of celebrities, LeBron, for instance. Ben Affleck was there also. And of course, there are the various Joneses, Tommy Lee Jones, Rashida Jones, ScarJo. I mean, that's not even including the Peacock promos, which featured even more celebrities. After a while, I just remember that there were a lot of celebrities on during the commercials. I have no idea what they were advertising for. You could mention LeBron James, and I don't know if it was for crypto.com or for another cryptocurrency company. Does that matter that after a while it's just a bunch of celebrities, but the brand that they're pitching for kind of gets lost in the shuffle after a while?
Yeah, it's a difficult balance to strike. You want the use of celebrity to draw eyeballs and attention to your ad, but you don't want it to dissuade from your brand message and from the brand itself. I think that's always a challenge at Super Bowl time, again, because brands are taking big swings. To your point, we did see a lot of ads that had not just one or two celebrities, but a number of celebrities, and that was the intention, to try to own the moment with that level of star power. But at the end, for people like us, we're paying an awful lot of attention to the ads and probably diving in a little bit more ad by ad. I think for the normal viewing public, there are probably moments that really stood out for them because they saw people that they liked, they saw people that they gravitated towards, and probably an awful lot of brands that or ads that because of either the brand or the product that's being advertised, it's just not on the radar or their interest, and it kind of washes over as a result.
Yeah, I couldn't tell which truck the Joneses were driving. I thought it was for the Ford F-150, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I already am tuning out most of the game part, and then cars come in and I'm out of it. But I know that's not soothing for you, Josh, so I apologize. But I mean, just in terms of the ROI on these ads, every celeb you add in is millions and millions of dollars, right? We talk a lot about supply chain and economic crises here at Bloomberg. And, the Twitter sphere always finds something to be mad about, but some of them were a little bit irked that, car prices are skyrocketing while brands are spending so much money on these Super Bowl ads. I mean, how do you advise a brand on that? Because, of course, it's going to be expensive to advertise, but we're also in this moment of economic hardship. What's your strategy and thinking on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, these brands are having to walk a really fine line. I'm sure that the automotive brands are anticipating a moment where the supply chain issues get solved, and there is available product and an economy that's coming back, and people with disposable income and wanting to spend. So they're trying to anticipate a future moment and get on the radar and in people's minds for when those things are occurring. I think you saw a similar situation with there were 4 travel brands that advertised, and technically we're at the tail end of this pandemic, but they're probably anticipating that as things wind down and we evolve to an endemic, that in the summer there's going to be a lot of pent up demand for people to get out and travel around. So I think you see these calculated bets in terms of what brands are advertising in any given moment versus when consumer demand is going to pick up.
So Maddie got me into TikTok recently, and we've been producing a lot of those here at work. And
Excellent.
Of course, it's very user-generated, not very high-tech at all. The stickers are just something that we throw on there. It has this at-home generated feel. We didn't really see any of that reflected in the really splashy, glossy advertising shown during the Super Bowl. Why is it that? Why is that? Why not incorporate some of that at-home, raw, authentic feel?
That's a good question. I think, if you think probably 2 or 3 years back, there were there was a whole trend around user-generated content, and there were a couple of brands who actually did Super Bowl ads where they solicited ideas and produced normal consumer ideas at the Super Bowl. And you definitely saw a difference in kind of production value and production levels as a result of that. It was kind of, it was a trend of the moment. I think what you saw at this particular Super Bowl was a lot of brands who really wanted to own the stage. I think the predominance of optimism and positivity in the messaging was a sign that brands really wanted to kind of push forward out of the pandemic and the kind of dour state that we've been in. So I'm not surprised that we saw such big production values, because I think brands, again, really wanted to own that moment.
Josh, final question for you. As we kind of see all of these ads about Peacock and think about unbundling all the time on our streaming network, what do you think the staying power is in terms of the importance of ad space during the Super Bowl? Do you see this continuing to be the spot for ads, 10 years into the future?
I think as long as the Super Bowl continues to hold this audience, which again is kind of one of the few remaining cultural campfires when it comes to marketing. We see people watching the ads and watching the game across demographics, across gender, across race. So I think as long as the Super Bowl continues to own that cultural campfire moment, you'll definitely see brands investing in it. I think what you will see is them being a little more, continuing to be thoughtful about how not just the ad in the Super Bowl, but their full media spend across the couple of weeks around the Super Bowl gets utilized to best effect. But again, as long as we're all coming together to watch, brands will be there advertising.